Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lana, and in this series of videos I am recreating an Edwardian outfit that could potentially be worn on the Titanic, and one that is very loosely inspired by Rose's blue flying dress from the movie Titanic. Now, this is the third and last part in this series, right around the time for, the anniversary of Titanic sinking. In the first video, I made an Edwardian style corset. You can check it out here. And in the second part, I made an Edwardian walking skirt and Edwardian lace blouse. So absolutely feel free to check out both of those videos here, and I'll put them in the description box below too. But today, it's the pièce de résistance, the blue velvet coat. Before we get to making the coat, let's take a quick look at Edwardian fashion styles of the early 20th century and also Titanic movie costumes a little bit. So the real Titanic sank in 1912, which was the latter part of the Edwardian era, also called Belle Époque, and it ended roughly with the onset of World War I, so the lifestyle, priorities, but also fashion changed quite a lot after that time or around that time. Belle Époque is sort of the last hurrah of beauty, elegance, and luxury for the wealthy, for the upper classes, of course. The corsets of this era become elongated, S-bend corsets. They still cinch in the waist a little, but it's not that severe bust, waist, hips, hourglass shape as we know from the previous eras. Instead, the shape is more natural, with a slightly defined and slightly raised waist. For women of the upper classes especially, outfits are elegant and evening wear is created from elaborate, light materials, often masterfully embroidered and decorated with delicate fabrics, layers and layers of those delicate fabrics, and various lace insertions. Simpler outfits would also be worn throughout the day, no less elegant. One interesting example are women's travel suits. Costume designer for Titanic, Deborah Lynn Scott, actually won the Academy Award for Best Costume Design. And one of her creations, Rose's travel suit that we see her in the very first scene, was inspired by the Lineker & Co. suit from a fashion magazine, Le Mode, from 1912. The jewellery of this era is especially one of my absolute favorite parts. Brooches, rings, and necklaces, all inspired by the Art Nouveau style. The jewellery makers of this era wanted to capture the movement of nature and really capture it in these wearable pieces of art. This is why the jewellery of this era is characterized by various fluid lines and motifs from the natural world, so animals, flowers, plants. Often the pieces would also be enameled, which was a popular technique in this period. And the costumes in Titanic create a beautiful picture of the Edwardian era. Tailored suits and wide-brimmed hats, delicate and exquisite evening gowns, to beautiful enamel jewelry pieces, and even to things like the tea gown, which was a style of women's dress that was simpler, was made of usually less posh fabrics, and designed to be fastened in the front so you could put it on without the help of a maid. It was a dress less restrictive and considered slightly less formal. It was originally intended for entertaining guests at home, something where you could be dressed down but not completely inappropriately, so something that you could feel comfortable in and still look presentable enough by Edwardian standards. In fact, a Titanic passenger and survivor, Lady Lucy Duff-Gordon, was a fashion designer and is credited with popularizing the Edwardian tea gown. In 1912, Lady Duff-Gordon and her husband, Sir Cosmo, traveled on Titanic to America for business. They booked the first-class ticket under the alias Mr. and Mrs. Morgan. They both survived the sinking in lifeboat number 1.
And over here we have Sir Cosmo and Lucille Lady Duff-Gordon. She designs naughty lingerie, among her many talents. Very popular with the royals.
In reference to her clothes being popular with the royals, that's probably because she made dresses for guests who, for example, attended the coronation of the Russian Tsar Nicholas II, and for celebrations of Queen Victoria's Jubilee. Lady Duff-Gordon's clientele encompassed the likes of various European royalty, or for example, actresses like the actress and singer Lily Elsie. Now, if we return to the tea gown, There were various styles of this dress, and it could also be more like a robe, more loosely fitted, even in something known as the kimono style. And this neatly brings us to Rose's blue flying dress. According to an article quoted in the Costumer's Guide to Movie Costumes, the costumer who sold the original gown, the blue flying dress, to the film says that the gown belonged to the wife of the governor of Pennsylvania. The original was a black velvet with black satin accents and white bodice inserts with lace. The costumer for Titanic, Deborah Lynn Scott, was inspired by that design, but chose a royal blue velvet, purplish blue satin accents, and antique lace for the bodice insert. But the fact that the dress in the upper part resembles something like a kimono is no coincidence. The Anglo-Japanese style developed through the Victorian and Edwardian periods. A new appreciation for Japanese design and culture influenced British art, from decorative objects to ceramics to furniture and even to fashion. Though it doesn't seem to be incredibly common from what I know, you can definitely come across some gowns, garments of the period in this style, which reflected in the use of traditional Japanese fabrics, clothing designs, Japanese as well as Chinese decorative elements. And the kimono style can often be found in coats from the Edwardian era. And this influence is also neatly reflected in Rose's blue flying dress. Now, let's finally see how I made this blue velvet coat. The reason why I made only the coat and not the entire dress was because I wanted 3 parts of the garment that could either be worn together or separately with other pieces, potentially. When I make historical or movie costumes, I know that realistically I won't really be able to wear them in my day-to-day life. So if I get a chance to make a garment where I potentially can do that, I will definitely try to. The black skirt from this ensemble, for example, I've been wearing this quite a lot throughout the previous winter months, and it's been pretty great. So for this coat, I bought this lovely blue velvet, and I cut it out really simply, just rectangles for the front, the back, and the sleeves, and then I sewed them together. I'm not sure if that's 100% the case, though I suspect the original coat might be lined. I do things on a budget, so I didn't have any extra money to spend on this. And ultimately, the fabric also won't fray, so I can get away without lining it too. I'm using this lighter blue micro satin fabric for the collar and the cuffs and, you know, all the accents. And this fabric is super light, it holds no shape, which it seems like the original does to a degree, so I'm going to sew it on a bit differently, at least the color. Next, I cut a little curve in the front of the coat piece. Now, my coat will also be a little bit shorter due to fabric shortage. Also, the thickness of my velvet is going to make it hang a bit differently, not as flowy like the original. I mean, look at this. This looks like water. But I think it'll still be fine, you know, it's not so bad. It still looks pretty decent, I would say. The collar will be pinned on and sewed down like so. I'm taking the stills from the movie as a reference, but I'm not making it quite the same. As you can see, I don't know how to describe the differences. You can see them when you compare the pictures. And then I prepare the two front pieces, the plackets or whatever you want to call them. So I got these lovely flower patches from AliExpress, and I think they were the perfect choice. They're supposed to be cherry blossoms, but in blue, and they iron on really simply. This was super quick and easy. I was debating painting them on at first, but then I was worried about color bleeding into the fabric too much, and it just seemed like too much hassle. And then I found those patches and I would definitely choose them again. I think they look great and they resemble really closely to the original. Next was this long rectangle. This will be the belt, and I'm using the same fabric as for the accents. It's called a micro satin and has this rather close resemblance to silk. Not really, but it's definitely much better than your regular satin that has that polyester plastic shine. After trying on the coat, I realized that I needed some extra room for the hips, so I added 2 triangle gauze inserts on each side in to the bottom half. And I also decided to add those tiny little pom-poms to the corners. Now the original design has 3 little like balls, pom-poms, hanging down from each corner, I assume. And they are blue and slightly bigger than mine. I really couldn't find anything quite appropriate. I guess if I searched a bit more I could have. But I found these in an local online store, Slovenian online store. And I decided to sew 2 of them together, not 3, because these are quite light and I just thought 3 would look a little bit strange. Also my coat is shorter, so I wanted to add just 2 rows of pom-poms. Sewed them together, and that's what they ended up looking like. They definitely add a little special touch to the look. Lastly, I put the fabric onto the buttons. They look bad, I know. I have this kit for dressing buttons. You get it with every purchase of those buttons that are meant to be dressed in a fabric. And it's not that easy as they make it out to be. I usually get it pretty sloppy, so not my proudest work, but they are just decorative buttons, so I kind of have to live with it. And the fabric on the cuffs too will be just decorative. Now the original ones are a little bit extra, and again, I guess they are probably lined or double layer of them. We typically don't see them as much because they are usually covered in most scenes, covered with Rose's shawl. And I kind of struggled with mine, so I just decided to go really simply. The goal was basically at that point to just capture the essence of the original and not every single detail, because I'm just not skilled enough yet. Alright, so let's put this outfit together. You'll notice that I'm wearing a different corset. Yes, I made another one. When I bought the busks, I got a 2-pack and I said, I have another busk to use now, I might as well make another corset. And this one is such a step up. The waist is not quite right, but it's so good, it's so comfortable. Even the cording, which took forever to make, is great. And yeah, I love this corset. A video on that is coming soon. I'll probably pair it with the Q&A that you guys sent me ages ago. So I guess this is your last chance. If anyone else has any questions, just ask them here, I might include them. Other than that, I'm wearing my DIY Edwardian-ish undergarments, the lace white blouse, of course, and the black walking skirt. Now the coat. The sleeves on this blouse are not perfect for being smushed down and into the sleeve of the coat, but they can be. And one thing that I'm not so happy about the coat is the fabric. It's lovely, but it's a lot stiffer, thicker, bulkier than the original. The original velvet just looks so beautiful, and it's hard to find something matching and good quality, of course. You can get those polyester ones that just don't even look like velvets, but they're flowy, but you want something velvet looking but not stiff. So difficult. I'm still happy with my creation, the flowers especially, I'm really happy with them. And the overall look just really makes the whole thing come together, I would say. And we can't forget one super important thing with this outfit, can we? Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below what your favorite outfit, what your favorite look from the Titanic, the movie, is. And I'll see you soon in another video.